Yes.
right?
You are live whenever.
Okay, give me just a second here, Appeal. I just need to get this document in front of me. All right. Let's do it. You tell me when we're going.
Yep, you were live.
Okay. My name is Carl Kors. I am the chairman of the Building Board of Appeals. We are here today to address fence permit number FEN 20-0087 submitted by Alan Hyatt, attorney for Pyramid Maritime One LLC and South Annapolis Yacht Center. There are a number of moving parts on this case that we need to address really before even getting to the merits. And the first and most significant seems to be there are 3 board members who have expressed an interest in recusing themselves from this hearing. The difficulty with that is that if those 3 board members recuse themselves, we do not have a quorum. We are left with me and where is he? Ty, there you are. We're left with me and Ty, which does not represent a quorum by the code. So what I wanted to do was just open up to Mr. Evans, Mr. Schwartz, Mr. Ruby, and if you all could take a moment to say whatever you'd like to say. Let's start with Mr. Ruby, please. You're muted.
Okay. Am I unmuted now?
You are.
Okay, great. So yeah. So here's my deal. My firm is the landscape architect on this project. We have prepared the design drawings as well as the permit application for the work that's being discussed today. My firm is employed by the owner of this project, and his company is the appellant in this case. So my inclination, based on the Code of Professional Ethics, saying that members serving on board shall disqualify themselves and not be present when discussion is held relative to an action in which they have an interest. So for this reason, my instinct is to recuse myself from these proceedings.
Just to be clear, Mr. Ruby, the current drawings that are in question on this fence permit were prepared by you or your assigns at your firm, correct?
Yes, they came out of my office. They have my letterhead on them. The application for permit has my business partner's signature on it.
Very good. All right, thank you. Mr. Schwartz?
Hi, good afternoon. Thanks so much. I have a long-standing relationship with Mr. Hyatt and Mr. Anderson. I know Mr. Wilson socially. If they do not have any issue with me staying on the board, I'm happy to maintain my standing on the board. But again, I do have long-standing relationships with all of the appellants and the prime witness, Mr. Wilson.
And let's do this. Let's get through all of this, and then we'll circle back and talk to the appellants in the city about their feelings on it. Mr. Evans? You're muted, Matt. Matt, your microphone is muted.
I should have known that before I started. I've known Brett Anderson for many years socially, and back at my old firm, I believe it was when I was with my old firm, or maybe when I started my new one, I represented his company, Pyramid Builders, in a few matters. Also, after Mr. Anderson purchased the what is now called the South Annapolis Yacht Center, I did do some legal work for the marina there, so I just feel very uncomfortable with hearing this matter. I could also add that I'm social friends and with Leo Wilson. I may have collaborated with him on a project or so legally as well, but I've known him for many years socially.
All right, thank you. Mr. Dorman, do you have any conflicts or things you'd like to say regarding that matter in this case?
I do not know.
Okay, and as was evident that I didn't know Mr. Anderson was, sorry about that. I don't have any association with this project, nor do I have any personal or professional association with Mr. Wilson. So there you have it. Now, like I mentioned early on, we appreciate Mr. Schwartz offering to stay on if those parties involved are comfortable with that, because that gives us sort of an ability to have a quorum. But I wanted to first to the appellant, and I'm assuming Mr. Hyatt, you're going to be speaking primarily on behalf. Do you have any desires and strong feelings about the recusal of either Mr. Ruby, Mr. Schwartz, or Mr. Evans?
If Mr. Schwartz feels like he can be objective here, then I would have no objection if he participates. And I'd have no objection if Mr. Evans wants to participate. He's not involved in this particular transaction. I know as a lawyer he might be uncomfortable, and I get that, and I respect that decision. I think Mr. Ruby has the more difficult situation because his firm has prepared the application and the design. But my understanding of the ethics laws, at least from the state that I've seen, is that if there's a declaration made that there is the ability to be objective, even when there's a potential conflict, in order to have a quorum, that would be acceptable to have the parties stay. So you need at least 3 to have a quorum. So if Mr. Schwartz stays on, then you have your quorum, and the other 2, if they feel compelled, then would withdraw.
Ms. Nash, I assume you're speaking for the city unless you tell me otherwise, or Ms. Leonard, I don't know who is. Do you have any strong feelings or statements regarding the recusal of those 3 gentlemen?
Right, I'll defer to my attorney, Ms. Leonard.
Mr. Ruby, I believe, who is the landscape involvement, I would have serious concerns with his involvement. The other 2, I'm more on the fence with, and would traditionally see if the Ethics Commission could weigh in. I don't see a serious problem with Mr. Schwartz, who just has the sort of the social connections and the past relationships, but no relationship currently with this project.
I think that's
I don't have
actually,
any-
I'm sorry, but I think you got that opposite, right? Isn't it? Because Mr. Schwartz's name is on he's the architect of record on this project. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
So it's Mr. Evans who has the social
Okay.
connection.
Yeah,
just
so,
wanted-
I mean, the ones that have a connection with the project, I have a little bit more concern with, to be honest, because obviously they have not just a personal connection and a working connection, but they have a working connection related to this actual matter. If there's no connection with this specific matter, even if they've had past relationships, I'm not as worried about that.
Okay, so it sounds to me like it's most appropriate that Mr. Ruby, the clearest cut is that Mr. Ruby recuse himself. Would anybody disagree with that?
I would agree.
Obviously, it's Mr. Ruby's choice. I can't tell you to do it or not do it. So I'll allow you to make that statement one way or the other, Mr. Ruby.
Thank you, Carl. Yeah, I would, for the reasons stated, I would be most comfortable with recusing myself from this case.
Okay. Is there anything I need to do, Carrie, informally, other than, do we allow Mr. Ruby to depart as a panelist, and that's what happens?
Yeah, sorry, I thought you were going to say to be part of the panelists. Yeah, he would have to log off and sign off, and then the minutes can reflect that he recused himself.
Okay, let's do that now. Mr. Ruby, we appreciate you taking the time to come on and clarify that.
Certainly. Thanks, everyone. I will leave the meeting.
Mr. Evans,
Yes.
I'll allow you to make your statement as well,
Sure.
one way or the other.
I would prefer to recuse myself from this matter
Okay. Any
based on the reasons stated before.
any objections from Mr. Hyatt or Mr. Leonard as we excuse Mr. Evans?
None from me.
I would say that I don't know that it's my place to object. I certainly understand his point of view, and if he doesn't feel comfortable, then I respect that and understand it.
Okay, Mr. Evans, thank you for showing up and clarifying this, and you are respectfully excused.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Mr. Schwartz, we appreciate you playing ball, for lack of a better term. Before we get into the merits of the case, I say as chairman that I've known you for a long time. You've been on the board with me for, more than a decade now, I think, and I have complete confidence that you can do this objectively. But I don't want to. You have the right to recuse yourself, and if you do, this hearing can not continue. You've heard the statements from the appellant and from the city, so I'll let you make a final decision.
I feel that I can be reasonable and don't mind sitting in on this if there's no objections. I'll stay on. There was something that the city attorney said a year ago, said that we're not allowed to recuse ourselves if we take it down to less than a quorum. So am I the hot seat? Am I the?
Well,
I'm being a little facetious here because I.
No, I get it. I've been pondering this for the past several hours because full transparency, I've received a few emails from the board members prior to this meeting introducing their concerns about their conflicts. And so, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that other than we cannot function as a board with less than a quorum. And it's not completely up to you. You share a third of that in this case. If there's no objection from Ms. Leonard or Mr. Hyatt and you stay on and participate, well, then we don't even have to ask that question. But if I don't want you to be compelled and otherwise pressured to do something that you feel uncomfortable with.
I'm good with this. If Mr. Hyatt and Mr. Anderson and Ms. Leonard have no problems with it.
Okay, not hearing any of them jump into.
I have no objection.
I have no objection.
Unless my clients have any objections, I don't have any objection.
I just am a little concerned because I'm not sure how Mr. Schwartz is different than Mr. Ruby, but maybe I missed something.
Just to clarify, so the permit in question here, the permit that was denied, and we'll go into that because there's a little bit of murkiness in it, but the permit in question here is a fence permit for this development. Mr. Ruby prepared those documents and is currently tasked to usher that fence permit through to seek approval. Mr. Schwartz is the architect of record and his name and seal are on the drawings for the structures on the property. I'm using that term very loosely, and maybe Mr. Schwartz can expound on that. But I guess the difference is that Mr. Schwartz's name is not on the fence permit. Is that
Okay, I
fairly
understand.
accurate?
Yes.
Ms. Leonard did mention, and I don't think this is my place, so forgive me if I'm speaking out of turn, but I did hear Ms. Leonard mention getting a ruling from the Ethics Commission. I'm not sure if that's something you would want to put forward.
Well, I'll give you my thoughts on it, and this is after Carrie and I have talked about what that means. And I'll speak for Carrie, and if I speak wrongly, please jump in. We discussed this, and the view was that if the appellant and the city both agree that a board member can stay on and participate based on their understanding of their conflict of interest, then they in essence have been given, I don't know if legal coverage is the proper term, but you know what I'm kind of stating. They are not in jeopardy upon review for that decision. If Mr. Schwartz would like additional input from the Ethics Commission regarding his decision, then I think it's appropriate that he ask for that and that we seek that. Otherwise, it's my understanding that agreement by both parties gives him an effectual standing, for lack of a better term. Yes, Ms. Leonard.
Could I just have, because jumping in brand new to this matter this week, could I just have him in his own words explain what his involvement is again?
Sure.
Thank you. My firm developed all the initial documents with consultants, including Campion Ruby and Bay Engineering and others for the development of the project. We're currently involved with the actual buildings, the structures. We've had no inclusion in the fence side whatsoever. I haven't seen the fence drawings until we got them through the board meeting itself, but we are involved with the actual buildings being constructed now on the property.
Yeah, and what is your specific role? I mean, I know you're saying your firm, but like, what is your specific role?
I am the principal of the firm. I stamp the drawings. I'm the professional who runs the firm and stamps drawings. And I'm involved with my staff on all decisions about the buildings themselves.
I mean, you would be considered the architect of record for this
Correct.
project.
Correct. I am the architect of record.
I mean, obviously, I don't necessarily want to postpone the hearing. That sort of involvement makes me a little bit nervous. I mean, I understand that you're saying you have no involvement with the fence permit, but you're not completely out of it, and you and your firm are receiving monies from the appellant for services related to this development. Traditionally, if we had more time, I would highly recommend getting an ethics commission determination on it, just because this falls kind of in the murky side of it. Obviously, I'm not your attorney. You have the board, you have Assistant City Attorney Berger for your assistance on that. But I don't really have any way to confer with my client privately, but I don't know if Director Nash shares any of my concerns or not.
Well, I mean, as the representative of the city or as a spokesperson for P&Z, it's my understanding that if you disagree with Mr. Schwartz's participation and seek guidance from the Ethics Committee, then that's what we do. I caution you, however, because if that's the road we take, I'd like the city to take great care administering that. We have already received an inappropriate legal recommendation from the city regarding these recusals from an attorney that was representing the planning and zoning. So we need to have the right people making the right calls on this. But that's your, if Ms. Leonard, if that's what you want, tell me that's what you want, and then please explain to me how that process moves forward.
I mean, just to put all my cards on the table, I am not normally assigned to the Department of Planning and Zoning. I was asked to sub in on this very last minute, so this is not my purview. So I'm coming in at a somewhat of a disadvantage. I don't want to derail the whole process, especially since there has been other information that has come out of my office from various parties. I'm just not sure. Well, I don't want to besmirch his character anyway. At the end of the day, if this would get to appealed further down the road, I question how his involvement would look to a higher court or the next level of appeal. Because he has very clear ties to this project. He just doesn't have ties to one specific small aspect of the
No,
project.
and I understand your reasoning. I just want you to make a decision.
I think my decision would be to postpone and ask for an ethics commission inquiry. I don't want to waste anyone's time, but I do think this is a quagmire. So my decision would be, I think we need a postponement and we need a question to go to the ethics commission, which would not go through me, for a decision on what they think. And then I would, whatever their ruling would be, I would respect that.
Who would be the steward of that effort?
If I could just jump in, I'm also counsel to the Ethics Commission, so I could be the one that gets the ball rolling on the Ethics Commission coming together. And I will tell you that, especially if asked, they do act quickly. They can get an opinion out relatively quickly. So it may result in a postponement that's a week or two from now that we could reconvene. But I can submit a request to the Ethics Commission. I can copy Jay on the email so that the Ethics Commission is aware that this is also coming from, I mean, Jay, I don't know if you would want it to encompass the other members of the board, since we're already asking the Ethics Commission, but me and my legal assistant, who's their liaison, we can get the ball rolling on it immediately.
Mr. Hyatt?
Mr. Chairman, if I could weigh in, and this is also partly a question for Ms. Leonard. I had some communication with Mike Lyles, the city attorney, in advance of this hearing, because I was generally aware that at least a couple of your board members had these relationships. And my understanding from him was that from the State Ethics Commission, there's opinions that have come down where even if you do have these conflicts, if there's disclosure that the party that might have these actual or apparent conflicts is able to speak and decide objectively in order to maintain a quorum, that was acceptable. And because it was a concern early on. And I don't know if Ms. Leonard's had that communication with Mr. Lyles or not, but that's.
I have not, and he's out of town for the rest of the week. So I mean, he assigned, I was assigned to the matter, but I wasn't given background on this particular aspect of it. So I don't really have any expertise, any of his thoughts on the matter to confirm that or not.
You know, and I guess this is directed at Carrie, since you are the liaison as well. I can't help but consider a scenario where the Ethics Commission agrees with Ms. Leonard's concerns, and here we are unable to hear the case. I would think in that instance, you would have to have the ethics committee also weigh in on the other two board members. It may come down to a degree of conflict. I just don't know. I've never been through this situation. We've had members recuse themselves, but we've always been able to maintain a quorum. So it's sort of new territory for us. I would. The other thing that's not lost on me is the appellant, and this is, for the merits of the case, but the appellant has paid their money, they filled out their form, they're having their day in court. Multiple weeks delay again is a burden. And so it would behoove us to make sure that this, if we go this direction, it moves very quickly. I don't know, what that necessarily means, but it's a thought that's foremost in my mind.
Well, Mr. Chairman, if I may add something, as indicated, I think that the other two members should also be, all members should be reviewed in terms of if you're going to go that route with the Ethics Commission. I think the hierarchy may be that Mr. Ruby prepared, or his office actually prepared, the the fence plans, and I get that. That's probably the one that jumps out at me in terms of concern. But Mr. Schwartz, he didn't design the fence plans, and Mr. Evans certainly didn't design those fence plans. So I think I think those two for sure, if you're going to go to the Ethics Commission, need to be carefully considered.
Okay. So I guess the last thing to do is just to make sure that the director is comfortable with Ms. Leonard's opinion, because based on her opinion, we are moving toward this Ethics Committee review. So if you could, Ms. Nash, if you could weigh in one last time, and then we'll take it from there.
I defer to my counsel.
Okay.
If I can just clarify something, because Mr. Hyatt sort of touched on this, he said the state ethics, but our ethics code also has a provision that allows for someone who's disqualified from participating to participate if they want to. So Jay, if you are comfortable with participating, you can still participate because the quorum needs to be met. So I know that there was a question that was sort of levied towards the city in that regard on their comfort level, but it really is Jay's comfort level. If he wants to be further insulated by getting an opinion from the Ethics Commission, that would further insulate him. But there is that provision that exists in the city code right now that allows for someone to participate if they so choose, if a quorum needs to be met.
And that's a good point. I mean, it is ultimately Mr. Evans, Mr. Ruby, and Mr. Schwartz's decision, really, regardless of what, if I'm hearing you right, regardless of what the Ethics Committee says. It's just that if this were appealed, there would be further insulation for their decision if they chose to remain in participation, if the Ethics Committee backed that up. That's what you're saying, correct?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
All right, Mr. Schwartz, so it comes down to you. Ms. Leonard's concerns are noted and understood, I think, by everyone. Do you desire that the Ethics Committee further participate in this, or do you?
It's prudent. Let's be prudent and have the Ethics Committee weigh in.
Okay.
I just think it's prudent.
So I guess I need a motion. Is that the proper thing, Ms. Berger? So the motion would be that this hearing be postponed so that the Ethics Committee can provide analysis and conclusions on the conflicts of interest for the various board members prior to us hearing this case again. Second?
Second.
Ty, in favor?
Second.
Okay. Jay, in favor?
Favor.
I in favor? I'm in favor, 3-0. The motion passes. We shall postpone this hearing. Now, there's a lot of time things that must happen, I guess, before the next hearing, in terms of public notice, in terms of accepting public testimony, in terms of other things. I'll defer to Ms. Berger or Ms. Nash. I don't know how we're going to.
If we could
what-
announce the date of the next hearing, I don't know if we have the capacity to pick a date right now, but if we could try to pick a date, that would help with public notice.
I think we could certainly choose a date based on the parties that are involved here, and then we'd have to, hold it that we could modify that date to some later date, obviously not earlier, if there's some unbeknownst problem. But again, this
think-
depends on the ethics committee, doesn't it?
Mr. Corse, or Mr. Chairman, I think what Dr. Nash was alluding to is if we announce a date today, then we don't have to republish and we don't have to send notices out again, because it would be a continuation of the existing hearing. And that's why, she suggested that, I think. And if we can't pick a date, then we'd have to publish again and send notices again.
Right. Okay. Ms. Berger, is there a time period that you would recommend with your knowledge of the ethics committee where we could announce a date today that we know that we would have their report conclusions prior to that date?
Without being able to speak to, maybe their respective vacations and things like that, I do know that they can operate quickly. So I would want to give them at least 2 weeks to give them some padding in terms of their availability.
Carl, normally the Building Board of Appeals meets on the fourth Wednesday of the month, and that would be the 27th, just for your information.
I have an open calendar, the 27th of October. Mr. Hyatt and his folks?
I'll make it work.
I just have concern with 4 more weeks. This has already been postponed once. A date was set and then it was moved a month. So has been 2 months. And now this is a postponement for basically facts that have been known for a long time. So I'm just challenged by another 4 weeks. This matter has been ongoing for me for a long length of time.
Yeah, understood. I mentioned that earlier, that continued postponements are a burden, especially on the appellant. So I don't know how to address that other than to squeeze it down and try to force the ethics committee to do it in 2 weeks.
But yeah, the 13th is 2 weeks out.
Mr. Anderson, would that please you if we tried to make this 2 to 3 weeks from now rather than 4 weeks from now?
2 weeks is certainly a lot better than 4 weeks.
Ms. Berger, do you think that's logistically possible?
We can certainly try. I will call the chair of the Ethics Commission after this meeting, and I will ask him if it's doable within 2 weeks, and I will let you know regardless of what he says.
Okay, and 2 weeks, just for my calendar-ness, is the 13th of October, correct?
That's correct.
Look, and just in fairness and trying to bring all these schedules together, if we were to say it's the week of the 13th, that would work for me. If it was the 12th, 14th, in that time frame, certainly I want to be flexible at the same time to allow this to come together.
Well, the other thing that we're up against that I need to make sure that we understand is there are limitations on the city's ability to manage these Zoom public hearings, right? Therefore, there's other competition. This, I guess, I'm saying. There's other boards and things that happen. So
Earl, I don't see any other meetings on the calendar that time, but I don't know, Madeline, if you could confirm or if I could, or if you could check with Mark. Is Mark there in the office?
I am not in the office. I can look at what my calendar, what our shared calendar reflects as of right now, but I don't know how updated that would be. What
Can you,
day is that again?
can you specifically look at October 14th, Thursday?
Thursday, the 14th. Currently, I'm looking at, and this is not the be all end all. I can get in touch with Mark after the meeting, or someone could get in touch with Mark after the meeting. But currently I have the Financial Advisory Commission at 8 a.m. and the Transportation Committee at 6, but I think that one is in person. So just that one Zoom in the morning.
Okay, so is your office capable of having a public Zoom at 8 a.m. and a public Zoom at 1 p.m.?
That is a question for Mark.
Well, it sort of needed answered now.
I can call him if you would like.
Please, could you do that?
Sure.
And alternately look at the 15th, if for some reason the 14th is too much of a challenge.
Okay, I'll do that right now. I'm gonna mute myself.
I'm going to,
Okay.
yeah, and if no one minds, I'm just going to take a second, because we're postponing this, because I received no less than 25 written public comments on this case in the past 2 days, including some folks that went to a great amount of trouble to provide transcripts of previous hearings and other exhibits that will ultimately be of record. And I want to thank those people. I know it's frustrating. These issues that we're dealing with today are very important to us, and maybe not completely understood. But when we get to that point where we're hearing the merits of the case, the testimony that you have provided, you 23 plus people, will be considered. I will read your names out. And it's very important that your participation in this be held at an important level. So I just wanted to make that statement, that we are trying to just be as transparent as possible with regard to conflicts of interest among the board members, so that whatever the decisions are, whichever way the case goes, folks can feel comfortable that there was complete transparency. So again,
Mr.
thank you
Chairman,
everyone for your participation in this.
Mr. Chairman, if I may just tell you along those lines, we have forwarded a fair number of comments from people to Ms. Brown today. So you'll be getting some of that as well.
Okay, very good. Yeah, I spent the entire morning reading them, and I was kind of excited to get to the merits of the case, but I understand that this is something we need to take care of. So we will pause for a moment and see if Madeline can get us some answers on the viability of the 14th or 15th. If there are non-merit issues that anyone would like to discuss at this point, feel free to jump in. If not, we'll just take a pause. Yes, Maria.
Carl, I have just wanted to, I believe that you all have met Kimberly Consoli.
Mhm.
And because she is our recording secretary, I will be sitting in for a while to help her, but she will be doing the meetings in the future,
So you
For
will
the
not
board.
be involved.
eventually.
Okay.
Eventually.
Well, I'd like to put as many roadblocks up as possible to keep you from not being a part of this, because
I'm not going anywhere.
good, because you've been such a valuable member for, geez, how long have we been doing this? A long time.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I also wanted to check, I sent out the minutes. I'm not sure if I sent them to the entire board or just to you on the August 26th hearing. And just wanted to know if there were any comments or changes, because an opinion will have to be written, I suppose.
Yes.
And Carrie wanted to double check with you. Would you be the person who should write the opinion of order?
I know that Gary's done it that way in the past, but usually it really should be coming from the members of the board. I can approve it and look at it for legal sufficiency, but it should be someone.
Yeah, one of the board members, it might not be me, it might be me, but one of us will generate a draft and then work together to get you, Carrie, something for you to finally review. I see Madeline's back on, so
Yes, I am. Can I clarify, when you said the 14th at 8 and 1, was that an and or an or?
no, you had a previously scheduled 8 a.m. Zoom call.
Yes.
We would be doing ours at 1 o'clock.
At 1, yes. Okay, so you can go ahead and schedule that for the
Okay.
14th.
Does anyone who is involved with the appellant or the city have a problem with Thursday, October 14th at 1 o'clock? Hearing none? Okay, I will, let's formally announce that this, we made a motion to postpone, and that was passed. But I'll amend that and say that the hearing will be postponed until 1 p.m. October 14th, Thursday. Very good.
Good job.
All right, with that done, is there any other business, Maria, before we make a motion to adjourn?
No, just introduction of Kimberly and wondering the status of the minutes. Other than that, that's it.
Okay, you and I will interface offline and make sure you get that stuff as quickly as possible.
Sounds good. Thank
All right, is there a motion to adjourn? Jay,
Motion to adjourn. Motion to adjourn.
second.
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Okay, 3-0. We will adjourn, and I